Hello and welcome back to blackgirlcouch Reviews. I'm your host, Christina. We are back for the penultimate episode of Season 2, Episode 5, entitled What Makes Sammy Run. This episode was directed by Chio Hodari Coker, or it was written by and directed by Felix Alcala. Alcala. There we go. I couldn't see it on my screen. I'm like, I gotta make that bigger. I gave this episode an 8.5 out of 10. I thought some of the Sammy stuff was really strong. Everything going on with the gang, Nate's daughter, particularly Tammy, that was a little up and down. Not the biggest fan for dick waving contest, but I think in the end it's just about a push and pull of an investigation and how old school and new school kind of handles things, particularly around the idea of drugs. So we start this episode with in the club. They were cracking me up dancing because I was like, that feels so 1990, but that was like 2010. And as they're dancing with the dates, those two Latino hitmen come into the club. A few people saw them with guns, and that's when I would have been making my way to the fucking exit. And they walk right up to them and they shoot the one black dude and the other guy in the face. I didn't even recognize that as Nate's daughter. That didn't even occur to me. Even with the blood sprayed all over her face, I was like, well, you learned an important fucking lesson.
Welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker.
When you hang out with gangsters, you gonna see some shit. There's drugs. There's violence. I wouldn't be trying to rebel in this particular fashion. I'm sure there are other ways that are far less perilous to rebel against the lies that you've been told your whole entire life. Because I get that part. I do. However, fucking with gangs is not high on my list of shits that I want to do. They, of course, Nate and Sammy are assigned to it. Sammy is telling his wife to take prenatal vitamins, like that's supposed to help you get pregnant. Ain't you supposed to take that when you're pregnant? Unless she lied and said that the test was positive. I don't know. A lot of shit went down for Sammy in this episode. But she wakes taking photos of him, has no respect at all. That he goes out and works while she does stuff for her classes. She's basically an unemployed, bored hippie that invites a teenager to her home to smoke weed with, and smokes so much of it that she passes out. This absolute stranger. And you have this dog that's a drug dog, and you keep taking him around places like there aren't people who just have drugs in the neighborhoods that you're going in. You're taking photos of gang members because it's interesting to you and you like their face. If you're that bored, go find something to do that involves you actually using some type of skill or learning a skill. This whole photography, that's not gonna make an income. Unless you are opening photo galleries, you need to find a J-O-fucking-B. A job. It's just nothing. I can't deal with Tammy, and I don't know why they really made us deal with this fucking character other than to say these women are the worst. I think that's why they're so repugnant. They're meant to be repugnant. This is exactly the type of women it seems the show is advising that attach themselves to police officers. This whole entire relationship between them, Sammy has insecurity issues, and I think that in his mind, Tammy's this dime that was lucky enough to let him have sex with her. He doesn't seem to have a lot of confidence, and it shows in that relationship. Oh, I like when you wore a suit, you were nicer to me. And he gets to work, or gets to the club, and the first thing that Salinger says to him is, "Your wife pregnant yet?"
Why am I still getting hate?
As they're waiting for the identification of the one guy that was shot in the face, they're all back at the one guy. He's always making fucking jokes. I can't remember what the joke was, though. I just knew he was inappropriate. Don't like him. They be trying to fit in. And that's when they get the notification that it was Nate's daughter that was with him, and his wife calls because the father called and said she hadn't came home last night. He said, "We'll deal with it tonight." And then that's when his wife calls, and she's back home covered in blood, and she's like, "Daddy, don't daddy me now." But Sammy was saying the same thing. Like, it's teenage years. This is what we did the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, when you have a kid, that's the cycle, right? It's like, oh, you're supposed to understand that they're out doing harmless fun, but it depends on what you were doing as a teenager. Most people know that it was not about the right thing. So, that phase is not something to just be like, oh, like, I know when I skipped school, all I did was go to the movies and go to the library. So, you know, that juju, I don't have that same fear of that juju because I know my daughter. You are who you raise. I know you can't control everything, and sometimes kids just rebel, but still. I would think that she has a reason to be rebelling at this moment, even more so. Which is, I think, where Sammy was going with it. Of course, she's rebelling. But we also know, like, he also knows that she was hanging out with drug dealers. So maybe he has a little bit more reason to be concerned then. To flip that back around on Nate is right. Sal is not happy with the fact that he doesn't think that all of this task force and the way they're doing things and the helicopters and the cameras to get the court case, all of this extra money only for a whack-a-mole effect, which is basically you take one down, two more pop up. You know, the war on drugs is bullshit because it's not about the gang. It is about the gangs on the one level, but let's not pretend as if the bankers and, as they were pointing out, the, you know, people with money are the ones that are bankrolling and also moving the money of these drug operations. So until you go after the real criminals, what's the point in using all of this fucking money just to, you know, maybe we should put it in a better or different effort just to get these people in jail on certain charges, and half of them ain't even the head of the snake. Sal, in the middle of their investigation, just rolls up at the funeral for his right-hand man and basically just talks one-to-one with Trinity. Like, look, I know something happened. I know they coming for you. You talking about you ain't scared, but you have a choice. You can come in. You can save your life. You can choose to give up what you're doing because I know you back in the game. And I'm not sure, like, I feel as if this is Sal's old school way of doing it. And then you have Sal being like, you're on the take. Like, why would you bring that out? Like, one, you know that your person's is staking out this particular person. So if I was on the take, why would I show up in the company of them? No, I think Sal wanted to try to end it because he wants his people back. He's like, I got 3 bodies. I got you taking all of this shit away. And I got one person working actual homicides out there just at the possibility of getting this person put away. And all for what? Just so someone else can step in? He just doesn't understand the effort, but he does get caught up in You know, because Nate breaks it up after both of them's like, it's not over, it's not over. They're just not seeing eye to eye because Sal is young. Or not Sal. Why do I keep calling another dude Sal? Laz Alonso. He's young and he's like, that's what I mean, you old school guy. Because he kept saying, you simmering at me. I could tell you want to say something to me. He's like, yeah, when you gonna wrap this shit up? Seems to be taking longer and longer. And there's no results yet. And by the end of it, though, when he sees that, you know, his ways did pay out, like he has that respect for him. But at the same time, at the end, Laz Alonso realized, like, yeah, I guess he kind of is right. And then they always make that comment, which made me feel as if somebody is dirty, like they saying. So this one dude was like, oh, those guys want to flip. They just don't know it yet. That's so fucked up the way they got arrested. It got caught out for their assassinations. Is both John and Ben showing up for a domestic because one of them was one guy was sleeping with the other guy's girlfriend and got her pregnant. So this domestic turned into them entering the house and finding all of the guns and like $3 million because that's real smart. But we know criminals are really fucking dumb. They're not. They're violent, but they're not smart. No, they're not. There are some that are calculated, but not those street ones. No, they're not. They're just not. So yeah, now they're busted. And then you have the daughter testifying, Nate's daughter. And so that's another win for him. And the other two end up flipping easily. They're like, yeah, we'll just threaten to deport their the one dude's wife and the one dude he truly loves them back to Mexico. They don't want that because he'll be murdered. And they were busted, so they tell it all. They tell it all. And everything leads back to Trinity Day. And Trinity Day is taken down. They explained that he was also skimming money off because he was talking about how Mexicans and black people have more things in common and how they should be working together. We listen to the same music. We like the same thick girls with fat asses. We both work the fields for the white man. There should be, why are we fighting against each other when there's more things that should be bringing us together? And yet he was stealing money, and that's why the cartel sent people to take him the fuck out. So there's that all wrapped up, but even Laz Alonso's like, yeah. Especially when they realized Trinity wasn't even selling the drugs or the guns or shit. They was just moving the money. And he used his car business to do so. Let's talk about the more heart-wrenching story with Sammy and the little boy. He's been... Damn, I didn't write down nobody's names, did I? But he sees the one boy that he's been seeing who gives him information. He says he's not in a gang, and he sees him being taken in by an older officer. He's like, yeah, you don't make them run. They get more pissed off. It's like, why are you spraying things? You're not even in a gang. He's like, look, he's my problem. I'll take care of him. He sees that he likes where the wild things are. He hears that he's very smart. Or he realizes he's very smart as he tells him, like, that wasn't a movie, it was actually a book. And yes, he's absolutely correct. The book is 10 times better than the movie ever was. The movie was a great disappointment. And he mentions other books that were, that he's even, like, he's like, damn, you're really smart. And you see the unfortunate situation that he's very smart, but he's stuck in a life where he doesn't have the same options. Because he's not a white man in America. And he is living in a gang zone. And unfortunately, you have to choose a side. As one Fred Johnson once said to one Jim Holden. it's a beautiful thing you want to think of. And he even tries to, what are you doing tomorrow? Tries to get the mother, like, hey, I'd like to come check on your son. And she's clearly on drugs. And you hear him listening to the whole conversation, and then hearing like, yeah, I try to keep him out of the drug thing. I don't want him to do that. And he hears that Sammy's taking an interest in him. And then after he takes him to the movie, he takes him to this buffet, and he's never even been to a buffet. And it's so sad, the little things that make these children so, so appreciative and happy for the things that they want. That's not meant because there are some people in this world, I won't start with the person I know, that will think that means that you should rub that in their face every single day of how appreciative they should be. Like, that's not, no, they shouldn't have to put in an effort or show something for something that's given. That is just a given. To be loved, to be taken care of, to have some of the nicer things in life. A buffet is fucking $13. It ain't even that much. You spend more on that than that freaking 24 pack of beer up in their houses, or the cracker cake, whatever. So, him just being so excited to see the buffet and the variety of desserts. And then you have Sammy trying to get him the same way he took a interest in Janila. Let me try to get you off the street, or stop you from joining a gang, because that's going to destroy your life. And yet, as he's seeing this little kid, saying they're singing happy birthday to him, he realizes that's not his life. And recall, we started that scene with another boy that almost looked identical to him in the white shirt, little Mexican boy, and he's dead, shot in the back. And you then see the scene after he leaves. Even when he was at his house, he's like, oh, you gotta go soon. He's starving for attention, for interest, for someone to mentor him. And despite Sammy really giving a fuck about this boy, it's unfortunately, he's not his father. He can't raise him out of the situation that he is in. And we see that as he's going down the street. A whole gang of black boys run up to him. They're asking who he rolls with. He has to roll with someone. And they start gang stopping him. And we see later on, there's a call to another shooting. The black boy is dead. You saw the one guy, old gangster in the back, where he came to the first crime scene. He's like, yeah, my dad put a gun in my hand when I was 15, but these is babies. Like, even I'm fucking like, this is too much. And then he came over and he told Sammy, he's like, look, you ain't hear this shit from me, but the street's talking. It's the kid, Casper, that's his name. And the minute, I felt so bad for Sammy in that, because he was devastated. And he ran all the way to that boy's house, busted in. And one dude was like, you can't come in here, shut the fuck up, you let this shit happen, you probably gave him the fucking gun. He goes in the room and he's pointing the gun, he's got blood on his hands, and he's like, he know he's not gonna pull the Sammy immediately sees him and starts crying, because he's like, why and he knows that he's just a kid, and he's a good kid, and he's smart, and he's brilliant, and now he's lost him. You're now lost to that particular life, and it's so sad to see. That hurt me, man. I was in tears, especially when he grabbed him and he just wanted to hug him, and then the one dude showed up, and then he had to cuff him and take him in, and he knows that he fucked up, and he knows this is the life he's kind of forced to choose. Oh, that was gut-wrenching. And then hearing Tammy at the end, I was just like,
shut the fuck up. You're a fucking cunt. Shut the fuck up. You're a stupid cunt. Suck my dick.
There's a little Ben and Cooper action this episode. One is when they busted a guy filming or taking photos of a girl underneath her skirt. Did you know in most states that's not a fucking crime? Because under the First Amendment, your right to privacy is not in public. So guys can literally do that and it's not illegal, which is why he took the phone and broke it and then basically said, well, why don't you call the police and embarrass yourself about what you was doing? Because technically it wasn't illegal and he couldn't do anything about it. So he's like, nice. I just love when Ben is just like, you're so amazing. And then he tells him when he's watching the money, he's like, yeah, I got a card from he's like, yeah, you're about to be, you're hot shit. You've had a lot of wins. You've been on a winning streak. People are going to want to recruit you like they did me. And I think that's what he sees in him, a lot of himself. He's well trained. He can speak Spanish. He's prepared for his job. And he's like, look, success is about luck, but it's also about keeping on the straight and fucking narrow, and also revel in this because the bad days are going to outnumber the good ones. But that was pretty much it. And we see a little bit more training too, because he says, why would we search the place? It's like, you always search the place on a domestic because you see the scratch on the face. Like something else could be going on here. And he pointed out in a past, one of the people didn't do the search and there was 3 dead bodies in there. So it's always good to search in a domestic when things have been violent. I think that pretty much sums up the episode. I know Mimi, or not Mimi. Jesus, I just did this to Mimi in a thing and I called her Shy. Oh my God, I'm turning into my mother. Calling different people different names. But I'm sure Queen Shy is going to have some thoughts considering how much she truly loves Tammy on this episode. So let's hear her feedback.
Hey Christina, it's me, Shy. I am here to give my feedback for Southland episode 5. I'm not gonna lie, I was knee deep in my feelings today about this episode. Oh wow, just so many feelings about it. Juanito, first and foremost, I was like, why, Juanito? Why did you make this choice? Oh my gosh. And I felt Sammy in that moment. I felt him so much because it's like he really, let me start off by saying I adored this part of Sammy's character because I can relate and he resonates with me. And this is what I mean, he's growing on me, this part of him, because he was like this with the other girl, I forget her name now, the one that saw the murder. And he's all about kids and all about their welfare and them doing well, and he invests in them, wanting better for them, and wanting to show them that they can have better than what they've been shown or what they see around them. And so I can respect that, and that part of him, his character, I adore and I resonate with. So yes, I'll start off by saying that. The other part, no, but this, yes. I can. Yeah, it's hard, and Juanito, this whole storyline resonated with me because, as you know, I have my three fellas. And this is something that I talk to them about, is making right choices, doing the right thing. It's easy to get caught up in situations where there's dire consequences. And so always surround yourself with like-minded people that have your best interest at heart. Because it's so easy for people to pull you down rather than lift you up, especially in the Black community, as you've talked about. I've heard you talk about on your JC podcast. It's a thing. And so I would tell them that all the time. And, so far so good. But again, it doesn't take much for one bad choice can lead down to a lifelong bad consequences. It happened to my brother. And so it's hard, and it takes being intentional and, just doing the right thing, a conscious decision to do the right thing every day. You just got to do it. And yeah. So anyways, but yeah, with Juanito, I mean, and I get what he was saying when they were eating, about rich people got choices, but I'm like, no, that, do what you got to do kind of thing. It's like that's the problem. That's where we fall short, is that mindset. It's like we've already given up before we even tried, is when you think like that. It's like, yeah, rich people with money have more options and more choices, but at the same time, we're not left without options. We're not left with only this route. We still have options. Sammy is giving him an option. And that's the irony of it. It's like you have an option right here at the table that you're poo-pooing on right now. And so that's something that, is near and dear to me, is helping in doing, I love mentoring. And so it's like helping open people's mind, especially young kids, to this is not all life is about. There's more to the world. There's more to life than your backyard, your street, this city, whatever. And it's important for them to understand that and to take that in, and to not feel like they are just like, my brother was it, my father, like they were talking about his grandfather, then the father. It's like, yes, you have a generation of before of legacy before that, but you can break that chain, break that pathology, break all of that stuff, and do your own thing, and don't feel like you have no options. And so it's important to help kids understand that, because it's quick, they're quick to just say, what, this is it, this is my life. Then we got the Nate, Puente, Sal, and Sammy with the investigation. And, it's ironic. And I was laughing because, when Cooper and Ben went in there for that domestic dispute that turned into this whole bust, and it went back to Trinity. It's funny to me because it's the same way in my job. Like, it starts out with this small thing. You think these big operations is going to bring down, the years of months of planning, just like with Puente and Nate. They've been staking out for months, and then all it is these two people who have the wife and the girlfriend are fighting, which causes the cops to get there, which causes them to go look in the house, and then bam, the case is blown wide the hell open. And it's usually, and that's what I'm saying. It's funny. It's criminals think they're so smart, but their downfall is usually something so small a lot of the times. And in this case, that's what it was. Brought down a whole thing, a whole operation just from these two women arguing. So, and then of course the dude is like, there has to be honor among thieves, and I'm like, no, dude, there's actually no. That's the whole point of the saying. There's no honor among thieves. And it's funny, the hypocrisy that people in this criminal world, even within the in the criminal aspect, they think there needs to be some type of code. I mean, which they have, but then again, they're constantly breaking the code. There is no code. The code is there is no code, because there's no honor among thieves. There's no loyalty, because the soon as someone think they have an opportunity, most of the time they're going for it. And they're going to step all over you to get to the top. Everyone's trying to get to the top at some form or fashion. It's hard to find ride or dies in those types of environment, in that type of world, because that's the whole point. That's why they're in that world, because there's something about them that is ambitious in that way, and is vicious in that way, and have that mindset. So it's like, to how do you curtail that? And I mean, it's, some people are okay in their supporting role, but not everybody. Everybody's always about something, all about getting ahead, all about finding the angle. So I think I've talked enough about Sammy's character, his wife. I'm not gonna, you did your defender of Tammy thing in the other podcast, and I'm like, I mean, she's just ridiculous to me. I can't. I just can't. I mean, she's at the end of the day, she's a grown behind woman. I don't care if Sammy got with her when she was younger. I mean, I think she's in her late 20s now. At some point, you gotta grow up, and nobody says you have to be buddy. Yes, she's an outsider, but you can find friends. Don't have to be cop friends. Go find other types of friends. Go join some groups, or go join, people who are like-minded with the camera. It's like that's how you meet people too. It doesn't have to be Sammy's partner's wife and you are friends. That's not the only way to make friends. So I'm not trying to hear that, oh yeah, she's all by herself. Well, go figure out how to make friends. Go take some classes and find friends that way. Anyway, and Sammy cracked me up with his face. It's like, you take a picture of murderers. Like, why would I want to admire that? It's like, come on now. I mean, that's the stuff I'm talking about. Like, really? This is a murderer. He kills people. Why would you think your cop husband is going to be like, oh, I'll just forget all that. Oh, look at the lighting on that. Like, what? Anyway, I did think it was funny in the more lighthearted moments when we saw Juanito trying to hook up Sammy with his high as a kite mother. Like, okay, I don't think so. And I hope that Nate's daughter, this is what I'm talking about. I hope this was an eye-opener for her because of, being a part of that murder, being in that world. I know that she's been through a lot and she's in her feelings about finding out her brother's her father and being lied to, and there's trauma and all that stuff. Just deal with it. And then she's a teenager, because this is not it. Being in that world, putting yourself in harm's way because you're angry, because, of everything that's happened is not the way to go. So I hope that her eyes are open and she moves past this phase. There was no Lydia in this one, and I mean, I really enjoyed this one. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to have episodes without Lydia, but at the same time, I didn't miss her. I noticed that she wasn't in the episode, but I really enjoyed this episode nonetheless, but I don't want to have too many without her. On that note, until next time, much love, peace, and Black Girl Magic. Queen of the Couch, Shy.
That was Queen Shy with her thoughts on the episode. I don't want that just giggle came out of me. Because I was thinking about you talking about Tammy, and it was hilarious. Like, I defended her situation one time. I did not defend the entirety of the character. So everything you say is correct. Like, you can only be so helpless in your situation before you have to start choosing what to do. I tell my daughter this every morning. She's like, oh, I hate going to school. I was like, you know you're going to have to go to school for the next how many years? Are you just going to be miserable every time you go to school? Or are you going to find something worth looking forward to the day so that it can alleviate your time while you're there? I hate going to work. And yet I find something to do. So I started listening to podcasts and audiobooks or music, anything to to make it look forward to going to work. Okay, this is the 8 hours for me that I'm working, but it also means that it's a chance for me to catch up on some history podcasts or so on and so forth, right? Think of the good thing, the positive thing in that. That is very intentional thinking. And I think it goes back to what you were saying, because it's a really great perspective. I was pretty much being really empathetic towards Juanito. I thought they said his name was Casper. I could be so wrong, though. Juanito's situation. But what you say is absolutely true. A lot of people rely or simply live their life on autopilot. And intentional thinking, intentional human behavior to change your situation requires time and effort and energy, and people don't want to put that shit into it, and that's how they stay stuck in their situations. But everyone is not automatically a product of their upbringing. Case in point, myself. I grew up in a very abusive household up into the age of like 15, 16, up until teenage years. I didn't grow up with drug problems or alcohol addiction. I'm not violent. I think I have a pretty successful life. But that it, not to say that didn't take work and that it didn't have some emotional trauma and it didn't come with things I'm still working on. But you have to effectively, you can't say you don't have a choice, then you just give up before you even try. That's an excuse. And I understand all of the things that came before it, but if you're still breathing, then you still have a choice in how this ends for you. And it may never ever be ideal or exactly like, you know, the other side of the track of things, but it still is a choice, a chance to be happy. It was funny when he tried to hook Sammy up with his mom. That was the cutest little thing, because he clearly just like, yeah, he's so starved for that male affection. And that is the thing about breaking cycles. I think that is something about, they were touching on a little bit with the generation of how some cycles can't be broken, like the drug business over there. But there are some cycles that can effectively be broken with intentional behavior. And so he didn't need to be a product of his situation despite everything, because he was smarter than. He could have taken that and been like the other sisters that we saw last episode, who rose from this situation. But all of that means that you're going to sacrifice. You know, you're going to have to deal with people making fun of you. You're going to have to grow up. But if you have that support, if you have someone supporting you, that's almost the most important thing. Because it really feels as if when people there's nothing that could have happened. Like I'm watching Maya Hunters right now. So a lot of serial killer cases, when some of those killers kill, it's like, yeah, everything in their life pushed them to kill. There was no intervention period. No one was there for this person. So, and even with the interviews, they're like, if one person had just cared, one person, maybe I wouldn't have turned into the monster or become so desensitized that I did not care anymore about the consequences of my actions, to live out some pretty vivid psychological, fantasies that were very deviant based on the deviant behavior in which they were nurtured. So, very fascinating concept. So it's really great to hear your perspective on that. And we are going to wrap it up for this week. But if you want to send send feedback on the season finale of season 2 of Southland, blackgirlcouch@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment below on this podcast. My social media will be there as well. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace, hair grease, and black girl magic.